Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to look at Nahw Mir today. Today's fasl that we will be studying is this one, talking about Murakkab Ghair Mufid. And inshallah we'll study this in parts. First of all, in the first line he says, Murakkab bidanke, know that. Murakkab Ghair Mufid आनस्त के चूँ क़ाइल बरां सुकूत कुनद सामिअ रा ख़बरे या तलबे हासिल न शवद व आं बरसे क़िस्म است. Now the vocabulary for this, the word bidanke at the start, that means know that. Murakkab, compound. Ghair Mufid, this is the name of this type of compound, so we're not going to translate it, but it literally means non-beneficial. But so we're going to leave Murakkab Ghair Mufid as Murakkab Ghair Mufid. Anast ke or aast ke, this is these are three words over here put together. On its own means that, as you can see in the vocabulary box. Ast, which means is, and over here when it's written together the alif is dropped, so anast or aast. Ke means that or which. So aast ke, that is which, or this is which. So we're going to translate all of this together as that is which or this is which. So that is which. So aast ke. Chu literally means, there's two meanings for chu. You can translate it over here, we can translate it as when. We can also translate it as for example. So but over here they're the two meanings, and over here we're translating it as when. When qa'il, the speaker, bar'a, bara, bar means on means that, on or it also means it. Is also a pronoun which means it, so bar'a, on it. So when the speaker on it, sukut kunad, becomes quiet. Now this is a verb, and the masdar for this is sukut kardan. It's a compound verb of it's got two parts. The first part, sukut, is a noun, and kunad is the actual verb. Both put together make the compound verb. And so kardan is the masdar for kunad, and the stem for kardan is kun. So if you search it up in the dictionary, you'll find the word kun in brackets without this dal that you can see at the end, just the word kun, the kaf and the noon. So kun is the stem, and from kun we make the present tense by adding dal with the fatha before it at the end. So and it becomes kunad. So this is a compound. So it literally means he. So kunad or kardan is the masdar. Kardan means to do. Kunad means he does. He does what? Sukut. He does silence. What does that mean, he does silence? It means he becomes silent. So that's the meaning of sukut kunad. He becomes silent. Sami' is also an Arabic word used in Farsi. It means listener. Ra is a word which we don't translate in English. It comes after an object in a sentence. So this tells us that the Sami is an object in the sentence, but we're not going to translate it in English. In Urdu we would translate it as ko. So Sami in Urdu is sunne wala, and Ra would mean ko, sunne wale ko. But in English we're not translating Ra. Khabare. Khabar means news, a piece of information, news, information, and the ye at the end, khabare, this ye at the end makes this into nakira. So a news, a piece of information. Ya or Talabi. Talab means a request, and the ya at the end also again makes this into nakira, and it means a request. So a piece of information or a request. Hasil nashawad. Hasil nashawad literally means is not attained. But over here we're gonna translate it as does not receive. So again, this is a compound of two words. Hasil is the ism over here, and nashawad is the verb that we have over here. So hasil nashawad put together, we're translating it together as does not receive. So if we were to translate that whole sentence now, sentence finishes there. In Farsi, the verb comes at the end of a sentence. That's the end of a sentence. So how do we translate that? He says, Bidan ke know that. Murakkab Ghair Mufid. The Ghair Mufid compound. Honest ke. This is that. Chu, when. Qail, the speaker. Bara sukut kunad. We're going to translate sukun kunad first and then translate bara. So when the speaker becomes silent on it. Sami' ra khabare ya talabe hasil nashawad. Sami', the listener. We don't translate ra. The listener. Then we go jump straight to the verb hasil nashawad. Does not receive. So the listener does not receive khabare ya talabe, a piece of information or a request. So in other words, when the qa'il, the speaker becomes silent, he does sukut, the listener does not receive any news or any request. So that's the definition of Murakkab Ghair Mufid. So Murakkab Ghair Mufid, in other words, is a sentence. When the speaker becomes silent, the listener does not receive any information or any news. For example, if I was to say Zed's pen, now that's an incomplete sentence. I haven't told you anything about Zed's pen. I haven't given you any information, any news about Zed's pen. Zed's pen is old. Zed's pen is new. Zed's pen is lost. These three are examples of complete sentences. But if I just say Zed's pen, I haven't given you any information, any khabar about Zed's pen. So that's Murakkab Ghair Mufid. That's an incomplete sentence. Likewise, if I say Zed's pen, you don't understand any request either. But if I say bring me Zed's pen, now that's a complete sentence and you've understood a request. So from a sentence, you will normally understand one of two things. So you will either understand a khabar or you'll understand a request. So if in a sentence you don't understand any khabar, you don't attain any khabar, any news, any information, or you don't receive any request, then that will be a Murakkab Ghair Mufid, an incomplete sentence, like the word Zed's pen. You haven't received any information about any khabar about Zed's pen, nor have you received any request concerning Zed's pen. So the listener doesn't receive any khabar or any news, any khabar or any talab. That makes it into Murakkab Ghair Mufid. Lastly, he says, Wa'a barse qisam ast. Wa means and, that, bar on, se, three, qisam type, ast is. So how do we translate that? And that, wa'a. Then we jump to the word ast, and that is. Then translate bar, on, then translate se, three, and then translate qisam types. And that is on three types. So in other words, the Murakkab Ghair Mufid has three types. So what we understand from this is that, first of all, we understand that from this text that Murakkab Ghair Mufid is an incomplete sentence. It is a compound that will become part of a sentence. Like when I said, Zed's pen is lost. Now that's a complete sentence, and the word Zed's pen is a part of a sentence, is part of that sentence. It does not provide the listener with any information. The word Zed's pen hasn't given you any information about Zed's pen. The listener does not understand any request either. So that's what Murakkab Ghair Mufid is. So when the speaker finishes speaking, or if the speaker stops at that point, then the listener doesn't receive any khabar or any talab. Now what are the three types? Awwal, he says, the first type is Murakkab Idafi. Murakkab Izafi. Chu. Over here, the word chu means, for example, Ghulamu Zaydin. Zaid's Ghulam. This is a Murakkab Izafi. There's two words over here. It's a compound. Ghulam means, it can mean a boy. It can also mean a slave. So Zaid's slave or Zaid's boy. So Zaid's boy. Now that means this Ghulam belongs to Zaid. And this is a compound. This is it's a Murakkab, it's a compound, but you don't receive any information concerning Zaid's Ghulam. We haven't told you if Zaid's Ghulam is here, if he is absent, if he has run away, if he is educated, anything. We haven't told you any news about him. Nor has the speaker mentioned any request that you understand concerning Ghulam Zaydin. So this is a Murakkab Ghair Mufid. Now from the three types of Murakkab Ghair Mufid, he tells you this is Murakkab Idafi. Murakkab Idafi is the first type. And what is Murakkab Idafi? He says Juzwe Awwal Ra Mudaf Goyand. Juzwe Awwal. The Awwal means first, Juz means part. Juzwe Awwal, first part. The first part meaning Ghulam. These are two parts. So Ghulam is one part, Zaid is the second part. So Juzwe Awwal is referring to Ghulam. Juzwe Awwal, Ra, again we don't translate in Farsi, in English. Mudaf Goyand. Goyand means they call. They call Mudaf. In other words, they call this first part of Murakkab Idafi Ghulam. The word Ghulam, they call it Mudaf. And Goyand literally means they call. It's from the masdar, from the root word guftan, and the stem for this is go. From the masdar guftan, we normally make the past tense by removing the noon, and you get the word guft. And guft means he said or she said. There's no difference in Farsi in Muzakkar and Muannas. So guft can mean he said, and the guft can also mean she said. That's the past tense made from guft. From the go, from the stem that we have, that you'll find normally in the dictionary, from here we make the mudari from the present tense or the future tense. And the way we make that is by adding a dal at the end, which has a fatha before it. So dal and a fatha before it. But we also have to add a glide over here. So verbs which have a waw at the stem which has a waw at the end, we will normally put a ya glide between that waw and the dal that we put on at the end. So goyad is now the present tense and we've made it from go, from the stem. So goyad means he says or she says, and this is the singular form, and the plural form for this is goyand. They say or they call. So that's what goyand means over here. We're going to translate the word goyand as they call. They call what? Juzwi awwal. They call the Juzwi awwal mudaf. So that's the name that they give to the first part. So in Murakkab Idafi, the first part is called mudaf. And it is this first part, mudaf, which is the possessed. In Murakkab Idafi, the first part is the possessed and the second part is the possessor. So the first part belongs to the second part. For example, over here, Ghulam belongs to Zaid. So this is Zaid's Ghulam. Ghulam of Zaid. Sometimes, and in English, you will normally translate the word of between the two parts of Murakkab Idafi. So that's the first part. It's called Mudaf. Concerning the second part, he says Wajuzwe Dom. And the second part, Dom means second, Juz means part. And the second part, meaning Zaid. Ra, we don't translate. Mudaf ilay. That's the name for the second part. And the second part, Mudaf ilay. So if I was to translate this together, it would mean, I would translate Goyand first. They call Juzwe Awwal. They call the first part Mudaf and the second part mudaf ilay. That's how I would translate it. I would translate goyan first, then I would translate juzwi awwal, then I would translate mudaf, then I would translate the waw in between, then I would translate juzwi dom, and then I would translate mudaf ilay. They call the first part mudaf and the second part mudaf ilay. So the second part zaydin is called mudaf ilay. Now he also tells you concerning the second part, he says wa mudaf ilay, the second part, hamesha, always, majroor bashad, is majroor. Bashad means is, majroor meaning that this will be, it states that it will be in that state is called majroor. In other words, it will have a jar at the end, it will have a kasra at the end. Now when a word is majroor, it doesn't always have to have a kasra. Kasra is uh, certain words will have a kasra at the end when they are majroor. Certain words will have a different different symbol. Sometimes they'll have a sign, they'll have a ya at the end. But anyway, for now we need to remember when that the mudaf ilay is majroor, and majroor means that it has a jar at the end, it has a kasra at the end. Later on that we will study that it doesn't always have to be a kasra. It could be that there are other signs of a word being majroor. Now, what does the word bashad mean? Bashad means is, and this is the present tense from the verb budan. Budan means to be. So budan is the masdar. To make the past tense we drop the noon and we'll make the word bud, and bud is the past tense, and we will translate it as was. He was or she was, bud. And from the stem that we have in brackets over here, bashad, we make the present tense, the mudari, or the future. Well, the present tense. So we make it from here. So we take bashad, we add the dal at the end with the fatha before it. Bash will become bashad. Bash is the stem, it will become bashad. So bashad now means is. The present tense of to be is. So that's why we translate it as is. So the second part, mudaf ilay, is always majroor. So that's murakkab idafi. Now the second type of murakkab is, he says, dom murakkab binai. The second type is murakkab binai. Wa o a ast ke, and o it, that's a pronoun, and it. A ast ke, this is that, or that is that. So that is which. So there's a few ways you can translate that, but we're going to translate it as this is that. And it, this is that. It's a unusual way of saying something in English, but it makes sense in Farsi. That's how you would say it in Farsi. So, and murakkab binai, the second type, dom, murakkab binai, wa o astke, and it is that, do ism, two nouns. Rabina can translate, yake karda bashand, they make one. We can translate the whole thing together. Yake karda bashand, as they make one. We're talking about the Arabs. And make one, what does that mean, to make something one? It means to join. So they join. So yake karda bashand, they join. And in terms of Farsi, this is yake karda bashand, they make one, they join. This is the subjunctive mood, which is made by, which over here is made using the verb budan. So bashand is the present tense from budan. And so how do we make the subjunctive mood? It's made by taking the ism maf'ul, like over here we have yake karda is the ism maf'ul, and then we add the subjunctive of budan, and they've used bashad or bashand over here, which is the plural form. Singular form is bashad. So yake karda bashand put together, this means they join, they make one. In other words, they join. So this, if you've studied Farsi grammar, you'll know what this is. If not, if you haven't, then you should just translate the whole thing together as one word. Yake karda bashand, as they join. So in other words, they join do ism, they join two nouns. So in other words, the Arabs or uh, the grammarians or the Arabs, they joined two nouns. Wa isme dom, and the dom second, ism noun, and the second noun mutazammin harfi bashad. Mutazammin means comprises, contains, or is containing. So bashad means is. So the second noun is translated bash the first. Mutazammin containing. So the second noun is containing harfi. Harf means a particle, harf, and the ya at the end means a. It makes it into nakira, a particle. So harfi, just like in the previous line or two, we talked about in the first line we talked about khabari and talabi. Khabari, the ya at the end told us that the word khabar is nakira. Likewise over here, harfi is nakira, and the ya at the end we can translate it as a harf. Just like over there, we translate it as a piece of information or a request. So the second noun is containing a harf. In other words, the second noun does contain a harf. Now, what does that mean? He explains that over here. For example, ahada ashara. The word ahada ashara in Arabic means 11. Ta means until. This is Farsi. Tis'ata ashara, 19. So numbers from 11 to numbers 19 are examples of Murakkab binai. Now it tells you what they were originally. It says Kidar asal, that. K means that or which. Dar asal, dar in. Dar means in, asal origin. So in origin, in other words, originally, both of these were not like this. They were ahadun wa asharun. Ahadun wa asharun. There was a waw between ahada, between this ahada and this ashara. There was a waw, and he tells you over here it was ahadun wa asharun. And what about tis'ata ashara? He says wa tis'atun wa asharun buda'ast. Buda'ast means was. So it was originally ahadun wa asharun and tis'atun wa asharun. Now there was a waw in between, and this means ahadun means one, waw means and, asharun means 10. 1 and 10 makes 11. So 1 and 10, that's how they used to, well, that's how originally it was said. That's how you would say 11. But because it's quite difficult to say 1 and 10, they dropped the and from in between, the waw in between, and they've joined these two nouns together. So they've joined ahadun and asharun together. And how do they join it together? By dropping that waw. In other words, this word asharun contains that waw, right? So they conceal the waw inside asharun. So they make ahada ashara. So we've joined ahada and ashara together, and the waw that was in between, that is now concealed, that is contained inside the word ashara. It's understood inside the word ashara. So likewise, tis'ata ashara was originally tis'atun wa asharun. There was a waw in between, and the Arabs joined tis'a and tis'atun and asharun together, and they made tis'ata ashara, and that waw that was in between, that is now contained inside the ashara. So it's become tis'ata ashara, 19. So that's what the definition of Murakkab binai is. Murakkab binai is when two nouns are made into one. They make two nouns one. In other words, they join two nouns. So over here, these two nouns were joined. So two nouns were joined. They joined two nouns. Wa ismadum mutazammin harfi bashid, and the second noun ashara contains a harf, and in this case it contains a waw. And he tells you that over here. Waw ra hazaf karda, har do ism ra yake kardan. That waw has been made. The waw is hazaf karda. Hazaf karda is ism maf'ul from hazaf kardan, to drop something. So hazaf karda means dropped. So waw is dropped. Waw is dropped. Hardo means both. Hardo literally means every two meaning both. So hardo, both. Ism, nouns, both nouns. Ramina can translate. Yake kardan, they make one. So yake kardan is from the verb yake kardan. Yake kardan. So yake kardan, they make, in other words, they join, they make one, they join. So this was the masdar is yake kardan. That's where it's made from. It and yake kardan is again it's a compound verb. Yake means one, kardan means to do. To do one meaning what? To make one, to join. And how do we make the mazi from this? The past tense. We drop the noon from the end. Yake kard. That's the mazi now. He made one or he joined. And that's and yake kardan is the plural of that mazi that we've made. So by dropping this noon, you got yake kard. That would be the singular form. And the plural is yake kardand. They make one. They made one. So it's past tense. They not make but made. They made one. They joined. So over here we're going to translate yake kardand first. So they joined. Hardo ism, both nouns. So they joined both nouns. So we're translating yake kardan first, then translate hardo, and then translate ism. They joined both nouns. Okay, when they joined the both nouns, what happened in the process? He says waw hazaf karda. Waw is dropped. Waw is dropped. So waw is dropped. When is it dropped? He says do ism, hardo ism, both nouns, rajake kardan, they make one. In other words, they make both nouns one, and the waw is hazaf karda, waw is dropped. That's a description of what's happened over here. That is hazaf karda is the ism maf'ul and is made from the verb hazaf kardan, like I said earlier concerning hazaf kardan. Now har do juz mabni bashad bar fatha, he says. Har do, and waw means and, har do both, juz parts, both juz parts. In other words, ahada and ashara, tis'ata and ashara, both parts. Wahar do juz, and both parts, mabni bashad. Bashad are mabni, mabni. So both parts are mabni. And what does it mean by mabni? Mabni means that the ending won't change. Ahada has a fatha on there, ashara has a fatha on there at the end. The last letter of ahada has a fatha, ashara has a fatha. And now this fatha won't change regardless of how it's used in a sentence, which position it comes in a sentence. That will never become a dhamma, that will never become a kasra. Same thing in ashara. The fatha at the end will never become a dhamma, will never become a kasra. So it's mabni, it's fixed. So both parts are mabni. And what are they mabni upon? He says bar fatha, on fatha. So, and both parts are mabni on fatha. So concerning numbers 11 until numbers 19, all of these are Murakkab Binai, and in all of these, the second part is Mabni upon Fatha. He says, Illa, except Ithna Ashara, except the number 12. Number 12 is an exception to this rule of both parts being Mabni. Why is it an exception? He says, Ke, that Juzwe Awwal, the first part, the first juz, and the first juz over here is Ithna Ashar is the second part. So Ithna is the first juz. He says concerning the first juz bi awwal, mu'rabast is mu'rab. So Ithna is mu'rab, but Ashara is still mabni. Ashara won't change, but Ithna is mu'rab. Sometimes you'll see it written as Ithna Ashara. Sometimes you'll see as Ithnay Ashara. You'll see a ya instead of an alif over here. So instead of this alif, you'll see a ya. So that shows you that this first part is changing, and the first part is not mabni. Its ending isn't fixed. So this is the second type of Murakkab Ghair Mufid, the incomplete compound. Then he moves on to the third type. He says Som or Siwam, depending on how you want to pronounce that. Murakkab Man'a Sarf. The third type is called Murakkab Man'a Sarf. What is Murakkab man asarf? He says wa o ask, and it is that which. Do ism, two nouns, ra, ko, yake karda bashand, they made one. So you can see how this line that we're translating is very similar to the previous one, very similar to this line in Murakkab Binai. So in Murakkab Man Asaf, he says, Do isam ra yake karda bashand, they made two nouns one. In other words, they joined two nouns. Yake karda bashand, they joined do isam two nouns. So in here as well, two nouns have been joined together. But what's the difference between this and the previous one? The previous type, he tells you over here. He says wa isme dom, and the second dom, second noun, and the second noun mutazammin harfi nabashad. So bashad would have mean bashad means is, and nabashad means is not. So translate isme dom first and then translate nabashad. The second noun is not mutazammin, containing. Harfi, a harf. So the second noun does not contain a harf. So that's the difference between, this tells you the difference between this type, this category, and the category, the second category that we've done, Murakkab Binai. So he gives an example. He says, Jum, for example, Ba'ala Bakku. Ba'ala Bakku is the example. This is made up of two parts. There's two nouns over here. The first part was Ba'al, Ba, Ain, and Lam. That is the first part. And Bak, from the Ba and the Kaf, Bakku, Ba'ala Bakku, that's a compound. So Bakku was the second part. Now, Ba'ala Bakku is the name of a famous city. And Bak and Baal used to be the name of a statue that people used to worship long ago. And Bak is the name of a king at that time. So both names were put together, Baal and Bak. They were both put together, and a city was named Ba'ala Bakku. Now, and you would have realized that there was no wow in between. There was no particle in between that's hidden inside that's contained inside the second part. Bakku does not contain any particle from in between. Ba'al was the first part. Bak is the second part, and there's nothing in between. There's no half in between. That is now contained inside the word bak, that is hidden inside the word bak. There isn't. So this is an example of Murakkab Man'a Sarf. So this, we're talking about, when we say Baal, a statue that used to be worshipped, this was a very long time ago, during the time of Sayyidina Yunus alayhi salam. Obviously they would stop people from worshipping such things, but the people at that time used to worship a statue called Baal. Okay, that's one example. Second example he gives you is Hadramaut. Hadramaut is Hadra meaning valley, Maut meaning death. So this is also a compound of two words, Hadramaut, put together. And now a place is called Hadramaut in Yemen. So this is, and there's no particle, there's no harf in between that is now concealed, hidden inside the word Maut. So Hadramaut, that's an example of Murakkab Man'a Sarf. And you'll find many examples of Murakkab Man'a Sarf in English, like the word New York. The word new is one word, and York was another word, and they were both combined together, and you've got the city New York. Likewise, you'll find many examples in English of that. So that is Murakkab Man'a Sarf. And he tells you over here, he says ki, that Juzwi Awwal, the first part, first juz, Mabni Bashad. Bashad meaning is, so the first part is Mabni. The first part is Mabni, and it means the first part is fixed. Ba'ala, that lam is fixed. That's not going to change. Hadara, that ain't going to change from the ending. So, but it's fixed. And what is it fixed with? He says bar fatha, an fatha. It's fixed upon fatha. Ba'ala will have a fatha. Hadara will have a fatha, and that won't change. And he tells you this is bar mazhab akthar ulama. This is based upon the opinion, the mazhab, the school of thought of akthar ulama, of majority of the ulama. Majority of the ulama have this stance that both the first part is mabni upon fatha. Wajuzwe dom, and the second part, dom second, juz part, and the second part, mu'rab. And the second part is mu'rab. Mu'rab meaning that its ending will change. Now, ba'ala bakku, you'll sometimes see as with a dhamma, sometimes you'll see with a fatha, ba'ala bakka, sometimes you'll see with a kasra. Same thing, hadara mautu, the ending can be a fatha or a kasra, and that will change. And that is that's what mu'rab means. Mu'rab is a word whose ending vowel changes. So that is basically what Murakkab Man'a Sarf is. That is the end of the third type. So there are three types of Murakkab Ghair Mufid. First one was Murakkab Idafi, where the first part is possessed and the second part is a possessor. The second one was Murakkab Binai, and those were the numbers from numbers 11 until numbers 19. And this is the third type of Murakkab Ghair Mufid, which is Murakkab Man'a Sarf, where two words are joined together and the second noun does not contain a harf, does not contain a particle. There was no particle in between that's been dropped. Now, he tells you concerning all three types. He says, Bidanke, know that Murakkab Ghair Mufid, that the compound Ghair Mufid, all three types, Hamesha, always, Juzwe Jumla Bashad, translate Bashad first, or Juzwe Jumla, Juz, part, Jumla, sentence. So, in other words, he says, know that Murakkab Ghair Mufid is always part of a sentence. It translate is first and then translate Hamesha, then translate Juz, then translate Jumla. So, Murakkab Ghair Mufid is always part of a sentence. And he gives you example. For example, Ghulamu Zaydin Qa'imun. Zayd's Ghulam is standing. Now that's a complete sentence. And you can say Ghulamu Zaydin is one part, the first part of the sentence. Qa'imun is the second part. Now Ghulamu Zaydin is the example of Murakkab Idafi, the first type. Now he gives the example of the second type, which is Murakkab Binai. He says وَعِنْدِي أَحَدَ عَشَرَ dirhaman. I have 11 dirhams. So I have أحد عشر 11 dirhams. So you can see أحد عشر is part of this whole complete sentence. وجاء بعلبك, and بعلبك came. So جاء is the first part of the sentence, بعلبك is the second part of the sentence. بعلبك came. And that's the end of that fasal in Nahw Mir.